I'm architect Renu Khanna and I'm a practicing architect. After having practiced for 37 years, I started my PhD at NIT Calicut. And my topic is monetizing Saraswati Sindhu civilization for heritage tourism. Now, I thought of Yagna Kundas as the cradle of temple. Saraswati Sindhu civilization, 3300 to 1300 BC, also known as Indus Valley, was among the earliest sophisticated urban societies flourishing along the Indus or the Sindhu. Cities like Harappa, Kalibangan, Rakhigadi exhibited advanced planning, baked-brick architecture, and drainage systems. Excavations at Kalibangan and Banavali uncovered Yagna Kundas, fire altars with geometric layouts and cosmic symbolism, embodying ritual and architectural meaning. These altars reveal a symbolic and spatial DNA that foreshadowed later Hindu temples, where the Garbhagriha continued the axis mundi concept. This uninterrupted continuum from fire altars to temple highlights enduring Vedic influence on sacred architecture and spiritual creativity in South Asia. In fact, I always thought, that on one hand we are saying that it was a very highly civilized society that archaeologists have found, but they have found no temples. So what was in place of temples? So at the beginning it was this, and then as you can see in the picture, it graduates to the pyramid of Saqqara and then finally the temple. This is what I thought. So where is the research gap? Recent excavations in Saraswati Sindhu sites reveal Yagna Kundas resembling temple shikhira above the Garbhagrihas. Scholars have studied on wells, drainage and water reservoirs. Yet the connection between fire pits, the Yagna Kunda and the Garbhagriha remain a less discussed topic, which this study aims to address. Agni is the medium from gross to subtle. Incidentally, I am also an art of living teacher and I am a disciple of Sri Ravi Shankarji. So in the Indian tradition, a human life is sanctified through 16 samskaras, rites of passage, which have been followed since ancient times. These samskaras are sacred milestones that mark the journey of soul within the human body and its worldly existence. A central medium in many of these rituals is Agni, the sacred fire. Kindled in the Yagna Kunda, the fire altar. Fire is revered as a divine messenger or the medium that carries prayers and offerings, ahuti, to the higher realms, connecting human beings with the infinite cosmic space, akasha, and invoking divine blessings. Now, these are the 16 samskaras. There is Garbhadan, conception, we use fire. Umasavana, fetal protection, we use fire. Jatakarma, we use fire. Namakarna, fire. And accordingly, Vidyarambha, education beginning, we need fire. Upanayan Sanskar, Ved Arambha, then Godana, Samavartana, Vivaha Sanskar, Antyeshti, all these we use fire. So the role of Agni and Yagna Kunda, purification, fire burnt away impurities or the pavaka. Communication, offerings, ahuti, carried prayers to the divine, transformation. Each stage was consecrated, reaffirming dharma, continuity. Temples carried this forward. The Garbhagriha became the permanent fire altar, preserving the divine presence. Now, from 16 samskaras to Yagna Kundas to Garbhagriha, and this becomes a living heritage. So the study compares their spatial, structural and ritual parameters, confirming shared traits like geometry, orientation, sacred centrality and restricted access. Findings suggest temples evolved from ritual Yagna Kundas, bridging cosmology and architecture, with future validation possible through GIS, 3D and archaeometric analysis. Then Yupa as the proto-column. In Vedic ritual, the Yupa was a tall, often wooden, sacrificial post erected near the Yagna Kundas. It marked verticality, connection between earth and heaven, and acted as an axis mundi. In early temples, stone pillars and columns placed around sanctums in mandapas may be seen as architectural transformation of this concept of vertical sacred presence. Yagna Kunda as proto-sanctum. The kund, a geometrically precise fire altar, embodied the sacred spatial geometry, orientation and ritual centrality. This sacred enclosure resonates with the later Garbhagriha, where divine energy is housed. Symbolism of Yagna Kundas, it is a continuum into temple architecture. Over time, the upas, the vertical, became the vertical columns, and the kunda became the sacred square. Together, they inform the spatial DNA of temples. So this is a parallel in temple sanctum. Garbhagriha, the cosmic womb, deity icons replace the fire at the center, axis mundi preserved fire, and linga or the murti. Mandala-based floor plan echo altar geometry. Then, in my literature insights, I found Stella Cramrish has written altar as temple as cosmic process, saying mandala geometry continuity and rituals, Agnihotra Homa, still integral to temple consecration. Methodology which I adopted for this was interdisciplinary approach. Textual, Vedic, Silpa Sutras, Agamas, spatial, geometry, orientation, axis, archaeology, Kalibanga, Lothal, Rakhigadi, comparative temples, Khajuraho, Konark, Chidambaram. So temporary to permanent. It says, Agni Nile Purohitam, Yagyasam Dev Vijam, Hotaram Ratna Dhatyam. Agni, the perfect sacrifice which thou encompasseth, verily goeth to the gods. Clear spatial and symbolic continuity, both structures, sacred womb, restricted access, and temporary ritual pit to permanent sanctum, from fire to icon to living deity. Temples as permanent samskar mandalas. Temples are the institutionalized, permanent form of samskar tradition. The daily puja, the homa, the arati, and embody the spirit of samskars in collectively. Devotees participate in rituals symbolically, keeping alive the spiritual continuity. Thus, by reviving the awareness of samskaras, we can strengthen the relevance of temples as living embodiments of culture and spiritual rites. So this is the comparison which I found. So, geometry. Yagna Kundas are square, rectangular, symbolic. And temple in the Garbhagriha is also square, planned based on Vastu Purusha. The type of comparison is quantitative, geometric. Orientation. Yagna Kunda is east facing, aligned with sunrise and solar rituals. Temple Garbhagriha is also east facing, symbolic of divine illumination, qualitative and symbolic. Material, brick, clay, temporary and cyclically rebuilt. Whereas temple Garbhagriha is stone, brick, permanent, enduring structure. So this is material, symbolic. Ritual function, fire-based transformation, offerings to deity. And temples, image-based rituals, abhishek, puja, functional. Symbolism, cosmic womb, Agni as the divine medium or mediator. So womb chamber, the deity as divine presence, symbolic. Restricted to priests, fire altar as sacred perimeter, restricted to peace. And so this is functional. Ritual centrality, fire pit at the center, murti at the center, or the linga at the center. Spatial, ritual. Then construction, context. Built for each ritual cycle, impermanent. And temple is intended for long-term worship, permanent, temporal and architectural. So this discussion suggests it's a continuum and not a rupture. Temples crystallize Vedic ritual, worldview, from, say, just like we have Shruti, then Smriti, then Vedas and Puranas, and it went on to the permanent written records. Similarly, from impermanent to permanent. Still, theoretical needs more scientific tools, GIS mapping, 3D modeling, and archimetric dating. There is a lot of future scope in this, GIS mapping and testing, sacred geometric ratios verification, cross civilizational comparison like ziggurats and pyramids also follow that. They also have energy in the center. So the limitation was heavy reliance on textual and symbolic interpretation. Archaeology is gradually opening, so we have to still looking forward to many findings, and lack of chronometric dating. Conclusion. Yagna Kundas, the conceptual and architectural precursor to Garbhagriha. Continuity across geometry, orientation, symbolism. Temple, crystallized form of ritual altar. Theoretical, need to reframe temple history as indigenous evolution. Practical, heritage conservation, temple restoration, curriculum design, immersive tourism, and cultural diplomacy. Tourism and heritage. Well, we need to revive samskaras at Saraswati Sindhu civilization sites through reconstructed Yagna Kundas, which can enrich heritage tourism. Even in modern urban life, simplified practices reconnect families to these traditions. The 16 samskaras remind us that temples embody not just rituals, but life's sacred journey from birth to death. So, let's be the spark that ignites the change. Acknowledge the efforts and wisdom of our great sages who enlightened us with greatest conduit between gross and the subtle. Integrate Vedic architecture into heritage and pedagogy. Well, let's be the spark that lights the flame of wisdom eternal in Veda's name, saluting sages, their vision so vast, bridging the subtle with truths that last, from Yagna Kundas, sacred and bright, to Garbhagriha's, radiant with light. In the architecture of Hindu temples, we see a continuum of spirit, of cosmic decree. Thank you.